This is an interview with Dr. Louis Finkelstein, conducted by Evelyn Drewes on April 16, 1983. The interview is for the Hastings Historical Society. Where were you born, Dr. Finkelstein?
Yonkers. Yonkers.
Yeah. What date was that?
February 28, 1902.
And that makes you how old now?
81.
81. Did you come from a large family?
Yes.
How big was it?
Eight, 4 boys and 4 girls.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the youngest boy
You're the baby
of the boys.
of the boys, and
And it's one only living.
yes. How many are left living now?
Just one girl and one boy.
Mm-hmm.
Beside myself.
Mm-hmm.
It's 2 boys and 1 girl.
Right. Tell me about your father and mother. What was your father's name?
Michael.
And your mother?
Dora.
Where? What was their background? Where did they come from?
Russia.
Mm-hmm. Do you know how they got here from Russia? Do you know anything about that?
No.
No. No, before your time. They didn't tell you about things like that.
They lived in New York for several years, and then he got ill, and they came to the country. I was his youngest.
They came out to the country.
Yeah, youngest.
Mm-hmm. And your father, Michael, was in business in Yonkers.
Very big.
Mm-hmm. Tell me what he did.
Butter and egg business.
Butter and egg.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Where was his business located?
Riverdale Avenue.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Made a lot of money at that.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
Good.
He hadn't had so many kids. He hadn't had
Had a lot of children to send to school.
Yeah.
Right. Well, he sent 2 of you to dental college. Mm-hmm. None of the other boys or girls went to dental college.
No.
No. Were your mother and father pretty strict with you? 8 kids growing up.
Oh yeah, my father was
Yeah. Right.
very much.
Mm-hmm. Did they? Were they very big on education?
Very much.
Mm-hmm.
Very important to them.
Insisted that you all go to school.
That's right.
Right. Right. You said you had one sister who died before you were born.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And Mount Hope Cemetery was not yet in existence.
That's
Mm-hmm.
right. Yeah.
But all the rest of your family, after that sister were born at were buried from Mount Hope.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I saw in the telephone directory that Dr. Aaron
That's my brother that died.
Finkelstein. He lived on Maple Avenue.
Yeah, he just moved there a couple of years ago.
Mm-hmm. He retired from his dental practice.
Yeah, and he sold his home in Yonkers
Mm-hmm.
to get away.
Mm-hmm.
Came up to Hastings.
Well, he was practicing in Yonkers for a long
He
time.
practiced longer than I.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
He had an office on Expert there.
Uh-huh. And you spent your childhood in Yonkers.
Oh, yes.
Where did you go to school in
Never
Yonkers?
since school.
Yeah. Where was
Yes.
that located?
On Prospect Street.
Mm-hmm.
It's different from what it is now.
Mm-hmm. You told me that school had been torn down in the meantime.
Yeah. And Yonkers High School was torn down, too.
Well, where was Yonkers High School when you went to high school?
You know where the library is? The library used to be in front.
Yes.
Yonkers High School on the other corner.
I see. Mm-hmm.
That's gone. I think that's gone too. I haven't been.
It has been torn down.
has.
Yes. Yeah. Did you?
It was built like a fort.
Yeah. Did you walk to school?
Yeah, it's only 2 blocks away.
Oh, right, close
Yeah,
by.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you recall anything about school that was that might be different from today?
Well, I remember as a freshman when they had trouble at school with too many students.
What did they do about too many students?
They made the freshmen go in the afternoon, and the others went to morning. And I remember the election that was on, and let me see who was running for the election. And when I came to the school, they all started getting around me. Who won the election? And That was California that time. Went for, I think, Hoover's against that fellow's name now. And I couldn't believe it.
That Hoover had won.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah.
Mhm.
That's when you go back quite a few years.
Mhm. And you graduated in 1920 from Yonkers High School. Uh-huh. And then you went straight into medical college.
That's right.
Mhm.
24.
And you graduated.
24.
Which college did you go to?
Columbia.
Columbia.
Yeah.
You told me that when your son Jerry got his training, that it was a different sort of training that he got.
Oh yeah, he had a 4 years pre-dental,
Mhm.
where I didn't have to do that.
Mhm.
The dental school is still the same thing,
Right.
whether dental or not.
But you didn't have to go to
pre-dental.
pre-dental school.
That time you had to take German, English, and everything else.
Mhm.
And
To become a
college.
dentist. Yes. Yeah.
It was a dental school that you went to,
Yeah.
wasn't it?
Well, that's the same thing.
Mhm. What year did you come to Hastings?
24.
1924.
Yeah, as soon as I
Uh-huh.
got out.
Uh-huh. And you set up your practice
Yeah.
here in Hastings in 1924.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. And where were you located in Hastings?
What? 3 Main Street.
Mm-hmm. And you moved around a little bit, though.
Yeah, I went to Warwick there, and then I came back to Main Street.
Right. What was the reason that you moved? Did better location? Or?
Yeah, I liked the location out in Warwick there, and then I had to move because they took the building down. And I went back to Main Street.
It's a good reason to move.
And then I ended up right in my own house.
Uh-huh. The
Last few
the last few years in your own house. Uh-huh. Were you the only dentist in town?
No,
Mhm.
there was another.
Can you recall his name? He lived in Tarrytown, you
Yeah.
told me, but you don't
Yeah.
remember his name.
I said no.
Yeah. Where did he have his office?
He had, first he had it on Warwick there, and then he went back to Main Street,
Mm-hmm.
over the back building.
Was he a young dentist too?
Yeah, quite,
Mm-hmm.
he was quite well known.
Mm-hmm. Were the people in those days as concerned about dental care as we are today?
Well, things were worse then. That's why
The economic
yeah,
picture was
yeah,
worse.
That's why I worked at school,
Mm-hmm.
and we used to practically give it to for nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So the kids would have dental.
To make sure they had some dental care. Mm-hmm. You were the school dentist for 38 years.
That's right.
Yeah. What year did you start? 1928, was
Yeah,
it?
yeah,
Right. And
66.
stopped in 1966.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you saw a lot of children
Oh, yeah.
in that time. Uh-huh.
I even had to take some of the Catholic schools.
Mm-hmm. Did they come up to
Yeah.
our school?
Yeah. Well,
Uh-huh.
the one Catholic school was up in on Jackson Ave.
There what?
Yeah,
Is a
there-
Catholic school
Yeah,
there?
there was like Catholic school. What's it called?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I can see it from my house, and I know the name, but I can't remember
Yeah.
it right now.
I had to
Yeah.
go up there for 1 year, 1 or 2 years, because I did services for public school. They demanded it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we had to work in St. Matthew's a little bit too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You have to work for somebody that
Now,
knows the history.
who was superintendent at that time?
Hopkins.
Dr. Hopkins.
Yeah.
What do you recall about him?
Well,
Besides his hearing aid, that is.
I know the men on the board always said if he had a good hearing, he would never stay in Hastings.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. A pretty good schoolman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was a little prejudiced though, certain things.
About what?
You don't take the teachers from certain areas that come to Hastings.
Mm-hmm.
I never learned
I never was aware of that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. You
What
mean,
year- what year were you in?
I came in 1950.
50.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm still there.
Yeah.
I know. And he wasn't there then, was he?
Yes, he was.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
And where'd you come from?
I came from a private school in Dobbs Ferry, and before that I came from Alabama, from an
Oh.
Alabama school.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because he hated the teachers from that area, middle of New York.
Oh, he liked the upstate
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
Do you think he thought they were some stability or something that are...
I really don't know
Yeah.
what was the reason.
Mm-hmm.
I understand, that's what I understand. I don't know much about it.
Mm-hmm.
I remember he had one teacher he couldn't get rid of, until she got married.
Mm-hmm. And right. And the principal at that time was Mrs. Bean
That's what,
in the elementary school.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Do you remember who was in the high school? Yeah. But you do know the school nurse.
Oh, yes.
Yes, you worked with her for a
Yeah.
good many years.
Oh, yes. She was
Yeah.
helping me.
Yeah. What was her name? Florence?
Florence
Lewis.
Lewis.
Yeah. Do you know any good stories about Florence? I heard stories that she really went right into their homes and made sure that they that the parents took care of their health properly. Yeah, she did a lot of home visits, I think. Yes, she was a dedicated nurse.
You don't know she's living, do you?
I don't.
She comes from upstate.
She was an upstate girl.
Yeah.
And she's friends with Gladys Smith, who would be in touch. Gladys Smith was
Oh,
a
yeah.
teacher here then.
Yeah.
So they would be in touch, so we could...
There was somebody else she was more in touch with. Can't think of her name.
And some of the teachers you remember? Betty Smith was in the school, and Davy.
Yeah.
When you set up your practice in Hastings, who were some of the merchants who were around you at that time?
I just told you. Ryder.
Mr. Ryder. And was Al Spiegel, did he have his grocery store then?
He had it down low,
On Washington.
near Washington,
Mm-hmm.
on Lowell.
Mm-hmm.
And John Newport.
Mm-hmm.
He was very close friend of mine.
Mm-hmm. And then as George Uford took over the store later.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And you said the Kaufmans,
The Kaufmans owned the building.
yeah, yeah. And there was another young fella in the building with you too,
Dr.
Dr. Mink.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Did he frighten people then a little bit?
No,
No.
not me.
No. No. Did you have pretty good police protection in
Oh,
those
yes.
days? Mm-hmm. Do you remember who the chief was?
Hogan.
Yeah, right. You told me there was another officer, Smith. Do you recall anything
yeah.
about him?
Yeah. I took out all his teeth.
Mm-hmm.
And that time we didn't have any traffic lights. And he used to direct traffic on Broadway back in there.
Mm-hmm.
That time we used to take out their teeth and then wait about a couple months to heal. So he having directing traffic there for the kids going to school. And all the kids going by and yelling, Smitty has no teeth, Smitty has no teeth. He came up to my office the next day. He said,
To demand some teeth.
Make it anyway.
Whether it was time or not. Yeah.
Incidentally, as far as the businessmen are concerned, it's Ferreras used to be there.
Oh, yes. Mm-hmm. 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 Yeah. Were there, how many brothers were there in that business, the
First the
Ferreras?
father,
First was the father
then the two brothers,
and two
and
brothers.
an uncle.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, they were in business there for a long time.
Yes, they were. They were
Mm-hmm.
good type of people.
Uh-huh.
Even that father, I had an incident with him. He came into my office and says, let's take out all my teeth. They were bad. I said, well, we've got 22 teeth. I can't do that one time. He says, go ahead. I took out 1,200 up until one time. And I went up until he got the injections, each one individually. And I took him out. He says, well, take out the bottom ones too. And I said, no, it's too much. And I said, well, let it go for about a month. And come in with the bottoms. He comes in the next day. He says, take out the bottoms. 22 teeth I took out
In 2 days.
That's kind of the man he was.
Yeah. And he survived that, all right.
Fine.
Yeah. Do you remember what his first name was, Dr. Finkelstein?
I know for the son, his name's Frank. And we call him Butchie or something.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
The
A
second,
nickname.
yeah, the second one, I don't know. The second one I saw it only recently. He comes to Hastings once in a while.
Mm-hmm. Were there any newspapers in 1924?
Yes. There were 2 newspapers.
Mm-hmm.
Hastings News and the Press.
Mm-hmm.
When did Jacobson's come?
He came in before me.
Oh, before then he was there too.
Oh, then
Yeah.
Mr. Jacobson
Yeah,
was
that's
there.
right, yeah.
Okay, we forgot
Kind
him.
of
Yeah.
about that. I just
Mhm.
thought
Yeah.
Right, okay. Do you know who was in charge of the Hastings Press?
oh.
Yes.
Woman.
No.
No, not him.
He's a type of man. I can't think of
But it was located on Broadway,
Yes, right.
where the garage is
Yeah,
now.
that's right.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Right.
News was there. Let me see where. I think it was in Warburton Avenue,
Mhm.
where Smallheimer had the store
Mhm.
before.
Mhm. Mhm. And remember anybody associated with that paper?
Yeah, Lundy. A fellow by the name of Lundy.
Who were the doctors that you remember in those early days?
Dorfman, actually.
Uh-huh. And
Jenks.
Dr. Jenks?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Dr. Dorfler was on
Where Terry
Right down the corner.
right there, on Broadway.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And Dr. Jenks was located on Olinda.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did he have his practice upstairs in that garage?
Yeah,
Is that
that's
where it
right.
was?
He had a hospital there.
And a hospital.
He even
Mhm.
operated.
Right.
Yeah.
You told me something about Dr. Jenks and his teeth.
Oh, yeah. Well, he was a drinker, you know.
He did like to drink.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he liked to curse, too.
Mhm.
And he asked me to pull it out, too. He wouldn't let me give him any Novocaine. He says, pull it out. You can't hurt me no more. It hurts me now.
Mhm.
He pulled it out. Yeah. He says, how about this one on the upper jaw? That was on the lower jaw. On the upper jaw. I says, well, that's kind of broken down. I have to give you Novocaine. He says, I got to think for it. I got to use an elevator. I can't use a forceps. He says, so what? You can't hurt me.
And you pulled it. Had he had a little to drink before you did that?
I don't think so. He
Mhm.
was just getting off. I think he's getting over the drinking habit.
Mhm. 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 Now, you hadn't been here very long until you decided to get married.
Yes, 27
1927.
Yeah,
And
3 years later.
3 years later, when you were a young dentist, and you married Miss Rose
Rose Distenfield.
Distenfield.
You have to say it,
Mhm.
Distenfield.
Mhm.
So, you have to say it.
And where did you two get married? And what year was that?
27,
Mhm.
1927.
1927. Yes, we said that before. And that means you've been married for 56 years?
Yes, that's right.
Right. Was Harlem a little different in those days?
Oh,
Uh-huh. A nice residential
Yes, that's right.
area.
Yep.
Can you tell me some of the things that that you remember about your young bride? She still looks like a young bride.
Not anymore.
Yes, she does. Yeah,
Put too long.
yeah. Well, I know that she was chairman of the health committee in the elementary school for years. And at the same time, Mrs. Finkelday was chairman of the health committee in the high school. So they worked for a long time on that type of project. I also know that she did a lot of work with the PTA, right, and with the Women's Club and the Historical Society, and that she had an administrative job with the Red Cross for a number of years. So-
Committee with Dr. Hopkins.
Mm-hmm. So she really kept quite busy raising a family and outside jobs too.
Oh, yes.
Right, right. Well, you have 2 children.
Yeah.
Which came first, the daughter or the
The boy.
son? The son.
Yeah.
And your son is Dr. Jerry Finkelstein. Gerald, and he's an orthodontist.
Yeah.
And he has his office at 584
584.
Broadway. And you can scoot right across the backyard to go in and see him. Or he can do the same to come over here, can't you? Right. Uh-huh. And he's married to Virginia Lynch.
That's right.
And how many children do they have?
3 children.
And who are they?
Elizabeth, John, and Catherine.
And they went through the Hastings schools.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Well,
Can you tell me about?
Catherine went to master school in
Uh-huh.
last few years.
Right. And the 2 oldest kids, what have they completed college?
No, they're still in college.
Still in college. And Catherine enters next year.
Next year.
Uh-huh.
She's been accepted by quite a few.
Hmm. Well, Jerry has quite an impressive list of things that we know about him.
Oh, yes.
Well, first of all, he was the first president of the Historical Society. That's coming from me, from the Historical Society, of course. He was elected Man of the Year from the Lions Club. He won a New York State dental scholarship. He was one of 10 people in that
New York State.
in the New York State that won the dental scholarship. And he was elected to Who's Who.
Yes.
Any other little tidbit that
He's in the
we
Army,
might?
in the Air Force.
In the Air Force. Hmm. How long was he in the Air Force?
For how many years?
Mm-hmm. Uh-huh. But he went all the way through Hastings School,
Yeah.
and then he went. Tell me about his dental training.
He went to NYU first for
Pre-dental.
and then he went to Columbia Dental.
Hmm. And he started his practice here in 1954.
1954, he went and practiced with me.
Right.
And then he went to, let me see. Then he went for orthodontia.
Right. So he only does the.
Doesn't
He's only an orthodontist
yeah,
now.
now he doesn't practice no dentistry.
Hmm. Right. And your daughter is Rita Kaminsky.
Yeah.
And where does she live?
In Scott Springs in New Jersey.
Uh-huh. And she has
2 daughters.
Mm-hmm.
One daughter is the editor of a paper in Long Beach Island.
Mm-hmm. Is she the one that graduated from Cornell? Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And the other daughter?
The other daughter is a secretary right now. She graduated from
Farley Dickinson. Right, right.
and she's the secretary in AT&T.
Mm-hmm. Right. Who were some of your first friends when you were married in 1927? Did you know Louis Hine, the photographer?
Very well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Very well.
Do you recall where he lived?
Yeah. Baker's Lane.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And do you remember anything
Is
about
your-
his family?
This could be recorded?
Yes.
Oh, really? And what other questions you said?
Oh, do you remember anything about his family?
Oh, yes, I knew his son very well as his wife.
Mm-hmm.
And they were very poor.
Mm-hmm.
They used to take pictures of us and give us the pictures so he wouldn't have to pick up that street.
A little bartering
Yeah,
went on at that
yeah,
time.
Yeah.
You told me his son had polio.
His son had polio.
Uh-huh. Do you recall how he looked? Was physically, was he
He was all right.
tall or
No,
no?
no, about my height.
Mm-hmm. But you said he was a charming gentleman,
Oh, yeah. You mean Mr. Hine?
Mr. Hine.
Oh, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, very fine.
Mm-hmm. Did he live here a number of years that you know?
Oh, yes, quite a number of years.
Uh-huh.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm. Well, I understand there's a little, some other bartering that went on
Yeah.
for people to pay their bills.
Oh, yeah.
Can you tell me about the French woman who couldn't pay her bills?
She gave us all kinds of stuff that I didn't need,
Uh-huh.
but it's for her.
Mm-hmm. Gave you some beautifully made gowns for
Yeah.
Mrs. Finkelstein.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. She was she in business here
No.
at that time?
No, I don't think
Just
so.
talented.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
No.
Right. And you had a little bartering with some people for groceries. They.
Oh, Hannah. A man by the name of, he's a tailor on Spring Street.
Mhm.
I've got his name now. His name is very funny. And he wanted a set of teeth. So he made an offer of me. He got me 2 suits. That's how I
For a
got
pair of,
for a set of
for
teeth.
some teeth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Roback, his name is Roback.
Uh-huh.
You ever heard of the Roback?
I certainly have.
That's the
Mhm.
old man, the father,
Mhm.
not the sons.
Mhm. Did you tell me where his tailor shop was?
On Spring Street.
Spring.
Yeah.
Mhm.
He
Right.
owned a house there too.
Uh-huh. And had the business in the
Yeah,
house?
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
the store and the house.
Mhm.
They lived in the back of the house.
Mhm. Was that on the side where Food for Thought is now, or
There's food for thought.
oh,
You know, where I get my food.
No, the other side.
up on the other side of the
Yeah.
street?
Yeah.
Mhm. Okay. Who was the mayor back in those early days?
I guess that was the Reynolds.
Mhm.
And,
He lived on Broadway?
yeah,
Uh-huh.
right next door to Jerry.
Right, right. And you told me about the next mayor, who was Mayor Cochran.
Yeah.
What do you recall about him?
He was quite an interesting man, very wealthy man. He owned a lot of property on 125th Street in New York. And,
But you had a lot of great admiration for Mayor Cochran.
yeah, very much.
Yeah.
He's very friendly,
Mhm.
he's very friendly,
And honest, you said.
very honest.
Mhm.
He's the type of man, I sent him a bill on one day, and the next day, he comes in with a check.
Uh-huh.
And he says, I should do this. I said, why? He says, suppose I don't come in another time. The next day, then you're going to say I'm worried, and then you'll be worried. That was his
About
way.
paying his bill.
Yeah, he's,
Uh-huh.
he's wealthy.
Right.
He
Did
lived
he-
up in Manor.
Mhm. Did he have a family that you recall?
He just had one son, I think it was, didn't amount to much.
Mhm.
He got him a job as a God's
Mhm. Yeah. And you had another friend, Harry Harvey,
Harry Harvey.
the historian.
He was,
Historian.
Yeah, he was a Mason with me.
Mhm.
You
That was he was made Master Mason in 1940, and you were made a Master Mason
42.
in 42.
What the name between? You want to get that?
And you're trying to recall somebody in between?
Yeah.
Yeah. Tell
Charlie
me.
Anderson.
Oh, yes. Okay.
See, this is I just got the notice from
Uh-huh.
Lodge.
Mhm.
That's where I come in.
Right,
Charlie Anderson.
right.
Just
Now,
before me.
tell me, you played cards and had a lot of social activity going on with the Harveys.
Harveys, and also with, who was the first minister? Do you remember? Mrs. She had those two sons that are very tall.
I can't remember.
Well, maybe you'll recall before we finish talking.
You remember the name?
No,
Mhm.
these are only the living ones.
That's your list of the living past masters
Yeah.
of your